If you sit with me long enough by the fire, child, I will tell you the story of Adanma, the girl whose name still rides on the winds that sweep over the Omu River. I was there. Not as close as some, but I saw it happen with my own two eyes. Some say she was cursed. Others say she was blessed. I say she was simply chosen. It was in the season of yam harvest, when the air smells like roasted tubers and the drums beat long into the night. In our village of Umwago, it was a time of laughter, ripe marriage promises, and blessings. That was the season when Adanma came from Abefia. Abefia was a village wrapped in the mist of the hills, known for its moon dances and skilled rainmakers. Adanma's lineage was old, descended from the priestesses of Olonma, a river goddess whispered about only during the new moon. Her mother, Madam Kechi, was a weaver of burial cloths, a woman said to dream of those who had passed. Her father, Okafor, was a stern but respected herbalist. They were not rich, but the blood that ran through Adanma's veins made her a bride of significance. She was betrothed to Obina, the first son of Chief Uduaka. A tall, proud boy with a warrior's stride and eyes like fire. Their marriage had been arranged since they were children. Two powerful families uniting in peace, Abefia and Umwago. But not all peace is born of joy. Sometimes peace is negotiated with silence and sacrifice. Adanma arrived with her people 3 days before the wedding. We all lined the village path to welcome her, dressed in coral beads and wrappers of white and red. Her skin shone like orgy oil and her eyes held something I could not explain then, something distant, something ancient. Women ululated. The drummers danced their sticks against goatskin. The men sang praises to the ancestors. And Adanma smiled. But I noticed, even then, her smile never reached her eyes. For 3 days, the village prepared. The girls of Umwago swept the square with palm fronds, and the boys fetched water in calabashes edged with eagle wings. Palm wine flowed like the river, and meat roasted on every fire. But beneath the joy, an unease settled. On the second night, an elder named Ogwefai Anik, who had not spoken since his wife died, came to the fire and muttered, "I have seen this before." Asked what he meant, he only looked into the flames and said, "When the river calls a bride, there is always a storm inside her eyes." That very night, as the moonlight soaked our red clay walls and painted shadows on the ground, strange things began to happen. The goats refused to return to their pens. The sacred Agno statue in the shrine cracked down the middle. And most unsettling of all, the gong that called for village meetings began to ring by itself at midnight. Some claimed it was the wind. Others said it was a restless ancestor. But deep down, we knew it had something to do with her. The night before the wedding, the moon rose full and fat, hanging low like a pregnant woman. And the priestess Nene came to perform the cleansing ritual. That night, I saw something that made the hairs on my old neck stand up. As the priestess chanted and sprinkled her bitter waters, Adanma's body trembled. Her eyes rolled back, and she spoke in a voice that was not hers. "The river remembers. The river waits. The bride must come." We were frozen. Even the crickets paused. The priestess stepped back slowly, her gourd rattling in her hand. "This child is marked," she whispered. "By what, I do not yet know." But the elders brushed it off. "She is nervous," they said. "It is the spirit of marriage entering her." That night, the river sang. I remember it clearly. It hummed like a woman grinding millet, sorrowful and steady. I stayed awake that night. Many did. I sat beneath the ojilisai tree, watching the shadows of bats against the moonlight, listening. And in the hour just before dawn, I saw her, Adanma. Alone. Walking toward the river, she did not enter. She just stood there, her hands clasped behind her back, head tilted like she was listening, and then she turned and walked back. I should have called out. I should have followed. But I did nothing. The signs were everywhere. We simply refused to read them. The morning of the wedding dawned with an uneasy stillness. The cock crowed late. The goats bleated nervously. A thin mist blanketed the river path, creeping into the edges of the village like fingers searching for something lost, but the village stirred regardless. Women carried trays of pounded yam and bitter leaf soup. The chief's compound was alive with color, red feathers, ivory bangles, and golden fabric brought from traders in Onitsha. Obinna, the groom, was dressed in the finest Ozo regalia, a lion-tooth pendant swinging proudly across his chest. Adanma emerged just as the sun crowned the palm trees. Her wrapper was the color of the deepest indigo, and her head was adorned with beads the color of blood. Children followed her with wide eyes, whispering to each other, for she did not walk like a bride. She glided, like mist, like memory. The ceremony began in the village square. The drums started slow. The flute of the spirit caller wailed through the air. Elders recited blessings. Obinna smiled, his teeth white as kola nut. But Adanma's eyes remained locked on something far away, beyond the trees, beyond the people, toward the river. The time came for the ancestral salute. Both bride and groom were to bow before the carved totems of their lineage and pour libation. Obinna went first. Strong and certain, when it was Adanma's turn, she approached the totem, raised the god, and stopped. Her body shook, and then she screamed, not the scream of fear. The scream of recognition, and just like that, the sky broke. Clouds gathered with unnatural speed. The wind roared through the village, knocking down pots and upturning stools. The goats fled. The dogs howled. Children cried. Adanma dropped the god and ran, not toward the huts, not into the forest. She ran toward the river, and we, stunned and trembling, followed. The path to the river was one we all knew, worn into the earth by generations of footsteps, fishermen, children at play, lovers meeting in secret. But that day, as we chased the bride who had fled her wedding, it felt like a path none of us had ever walked before. The trees loomed larger. The air was thick, heavy with something more than heat. Even the birds had fallen silent. I ran with the others, heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. Elder Ogwefi Anik, though nearly bent double with age, was ahead of me, his staff forgotten somewhere behind him. The village priestess, Nena, clutched a calabash of white chalk, muttering to herself with every step. And Obinna, poor Obinna, he ran like a man chasing his very breath, his fine wedding robe stained with dust and panic. We reached the riverbank just in time to see her. Adanma stood at the water's edge, the hem of her indigo wrapper soaked and clinging to her legs. Her arms were raised, palms open, as though embracing someone none of us could see. The Omu River, swollen from the recent rains, lapped hungrily at her feet. She was speaking, her voice low, rhythmic, almost like a lullaby. But the words were not Igbo. Not any language we knew. They rose and fell like waves themselves, echoing across the water and back again. Obinna called her name. Once. Twice. She did not turn. Then Nena stepped forward and shouted, "Child, come away. Whatever spirit you carry, let it go. You are of the land." Adanma finally turned, but her eyes, they were not the eyes of the girl who had smiled shyly 3 days ago, or the trembling bride before the totems. Her eyes were vast, ancient, and unbearably sad, and then she said, "I have always belonged to the river. You were simply borrowing me." And she walked in, not stumbled, not slipped. She walked, slowly, deliberately into the water, as if returning home. Obinna screamed and leapt in after her. The men behind us followed. They dove, searched, shouted, tore through the current. But the river had gone still. Quiet. As if it had swallowed her and gone to sleep. They found Obinna clutching nothing but a strand of coral bead, and that was all that remained. Afterwards, there was silence. The drums did not play that night. The fire in the chief's compound was allowed to die out. No one danced. No one spoke. It was as if the soul of the village had been taken downstream. The elders forbade anyone from speaking her name for 7 market weeks. A shrine was raised by the water's edge, carved in her likeness. Some say they still hear her voice at night, humming beneath the ripples. Others claim she walks the shore when the moon is full, a bride searching for what could never be. As for me, I sit here still, weaving my baskets beneath the ojilisai tree. I watch the river often, and sometimes, only sometimes, I think I see her. They say the river chooses. And once it does, there is no turning back. Now go, child. The night is growing deep. And remember, not every bride walks down the aisle. Some walk into the river.